Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into something that affects millions of us but often goes unnoticed. The hidden dangers that could be lurking right in our medicine cabinets. Yep, we are talking all about drug interactions.
You know, if you take more than one medication, or maybe even just a daily supplement along with your prescription, there's a chance they might not be playing nicely together. So let's find out what's really going on in there.
So what are we really talking about here? At its core, it's when one substance changes how another one works inside your body. And that substance could be anything. Another prescription, an over-the-counter pill, a vitamin supplement, or heck, even the grapefruit juice you had with breakfast.
Now, it's really important to get this straight. Not all interactions are bad news. Some are totally harmless, and believe it or not, doctors sometimes use certain combinations on purpose for a better effect. The whole point is understanding the difference so you can avoid any potential harm.
Okay, to really wrap our heads around these interactions, it helps to know where they happen. You can think of it like three distinct stages or, three main battlegrounds where these substances can clash.
The first one is called a pharmaceutical interaction. This is pretty interesting. It's a physical or chemical thing that happens outside the body. For example, imagine two drugs are mixed together in an IV bag, and one basically cancels out the other before it even gets a chance to do its job.
Next up, and this is a really common one, is a pharmacokinetic interaction. This is all about how one substance affects the journey of another drug through your system. It can totally mess with how it's absorbed, where it goes, how it's broken down, or how it finally gets cleared out.
And that brings us to our third battleground, pharmacodynamic. This is when two drugs interfere with each other right at the site of action, the specific spot they're supposed to target. This can end up making the effect stronger, weaker, or just different.
All right, so let's zoom in on that second battleground, the pharmacokinetic one. We're going to follow a drug on its journey through the body to see exactly how other substances can act like roadblocks or even accelerators.
There's a really simple acronym to remember the four key stages of this journey. ADME. That's for absorption, distribution, metabolism, and excretion. An interaction can pop up at any one of these points. So let's kick things off with absorption. A really common problem is something called complexation. Sounds complicated, but it's not. It's when certain antibiotics, for instance, literally grab onto things like calcium from an antacid or iron from a supplement right in your stomach. They form this little clump that your body just can't absorb, which makes the medicine basically useless. But the fix? It can be surprisingly simple. Just taking them a couple of hours apart often solves the entire problem.
All right, metabolism. This mostly happens in the liver, and it is a huge hotspot for major drug interactions. There are two main ways things can go wrong here. First, you have inhibition, where one drug blocks an enzyme. This causes another drug's levels to climb, sometimes to toxic levels. The complete opposite is induction, where a drug actually revs up an enzyme, clearing another drug out of your system way too fast and making it pretty much ineffective.
And even the final stage, excretion, getting the drug out of your body, can be a trouble spot. A classic example is how common over-the-counter anti-inflammatories, like NSAIDs, can make it harder for the kidneys to get rid of the mood stabilizer lithium. This can cause lithium to build up to dangerous, even toxic levels. So, we've talked about the journey. But what happens when the drugs actually get to their final destination, the place they're supposed to work? Well, this is where we get into pharmacodynamic interactions. This is where the drug effects themselves start to collide. Sometimes it's simple math. You take two drugs with similar effects, and they just add up. Think of it like 1 + 1 = 2. You take two different sedatives, you just get twice as sleepy. But other times you get what's called synergy, where the combined impact is way, way bigger than you'd expect. It's more like 1 + 1 = 3. And that can be seriously powerful and sometimes dangerous.
And then, of course, there's the opposite, antagonism. This is when one substance works directly against another one. A famous example is vitamin K, which you find in leafy greens, can actually counteract the blood-thinning effect of warfarin. Now, that can be a problem, but sometimes antagonism is used for good, like when an antidote is given to reverse an overdose.
Okay, so we've gone through the how and the where of drug interactions. Now let's get to the most important part of this whole thing. What can you actually do to stay safe?
It really helps to be aware of a few high-alert combinations that healthcare professionals are always watching out for. The triple whammy, for instance, is this notorious mix of three common drug types that can really harm the kidneys. And remember, it's not just about other pills. Lifestyle choices, like smoking, can seriously change how your body handles certain medicines.
So what's your game plan? How can you stay safe? Well, here are a few key strategies. Know if any of your drugs are powerful enzyme inhibitors or inducers. Be extra careful with medicines that have what's called a narrow therapeutic window. That's where the line between a helpful dose and a harmful one is super thin. And honestly, the most important thing of all, make sure your doctor and your pharmacist know everything you're taking. No exceptions.
And this right here is why being aware is more critical than ever. Let's face it, modern medicine is complex. A lot of us see multiple specialists and take several medications. In all of that, you are the one constant in your own healthcare story. That makes you an essential part of the team.
At the end of the day, your healthcare providers are your absolute best resource. They've got the tools and the knowledge to check for any potential problems. Please, don't ever hesitate to ask them questions about your medications. It is a vital part of staying safe.
So I'll leave you with this thought. Being proactive is the key to making sure your medicines work for you, not against each other. What's one little step you can take today? Maybe it's just making a list of everything you take for your next appointment, or maybe it's just asking your pharmacist that one question you've been wondering about. Whatever it is, it's a great place to start.